All right, good evening, everybody, and I hope we're doing fine. Today's shift session had to be like this because we are trying to look at some shifts, changing, doing things, and uh, because of the next phase that the shift session is going. So we are trying to look at how we are doing things, in order to accommodate the next phase that the shift is going. But don't worry, I got you. Sorry that we could not hold this Zoom session. We will try to make sure that maybe the next shift session, we have it both on Zoom and on YouTube. But still, we can still have our interactions here on Zoom. The comment section is there that we can have our interactions and we can move forward from there. So, our topic is your reality. Designing your reality. It's important that we talk about this at this time, especially after succeeding the last series that we had, which is reinvent. We talked about different uh, meaning of reinvent, and we also talk about the 3Ds, the major 3Ds of reinvent: the discover, design, and develop. When you try to assess whatever it is that's your current journey and you design it, you intentionally design. We talked about vision design, identity design, and so on. And we also talk about developing, so that's gaining capacity. And we talked about different types of capacity that we need to gain. That's intellectual capacity, spiritual capacity. And we, especially for those who are Christians that's watching me now, that you think that all that it is just spiritual capacity. No. Let me give you an instance. For example, if you go to an hospital and you ask someone to attend to you, and the person said, and maybe they are trying to tell you about the doctor that is on seat, and they are telling you that, well, this doctor do not really go to school, but he has the power of the Holy Spirit, but he's going to inject you, he's going to operate on you. In fact, you are the one that will say, no, 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 don't worry. I think I will better go to another place, for my treatment. So it means that intellectual capacity is important. So spiritual capacity is more of we relating with God. Intellectual capacity is more of we relating with men. It's not that the two does not elapse, or maybe you don't use the intellectual capacity to relate with God, but it's just more of you using intellectual capacity to relate with man and to relate with the environment that God has given us. Why spiritual capacity is, relating to God. And we need to understand that. And we talked about relational capacity, physical capacity. That's your body. Your body is the car that hosts the engine that is taking you to the journey. So even if there is an engine, a very sound engine, V6 engine, V8 engine, and there is no body, that can take that can go to the destination, it will be difficult actually for you to get to where you are going. So we also talk about execution capacity, which I believe that many are actually lacking today, because we need to know that execution skills are meant to be developed. Competence, for example, there are some people that all they just do is to make sure that, excuse me, there are some people that all they do is to make sure, that they build a business to a point, then sell it out. You'll be surprised how some people are making money out of it. So it means that these people, they develop competence in execution. They know what to do. They are very good at operations. They are very good at managing. They are very good at, bringing strategies, plans, and all, bringing them down to the level of day-to-day goals and executing them. So they are very good at that, and that's execution capacity. And we wrap up the last series with the shift dialogue. the shift dialogue is where we now answer questions, where we talk about different things, we answer questions, and it was a nice time. It was a nice time. Uh, so today we'll be looking at designing your reality. I would say that this particular this particular shift session is something that you won't regret following. So designing your reality. You need to design your reality. Part of what we discuss at the Reinvent series is the second D, which is designing. And I said that if we start looking at designing reality, if we start looking at designing, we have to go deep into it. Yeah, we've gotten there now. And I know some of you might be wondering, um, I talked about mindsets, that I'm going to talk about the mind and mindset. Yeah, I'm going to talk about it from this angle. See, people talk about the mind and the mindset. Well, there are two actually. As time goes on, we are going to understand that there is difference between your mind and your mindset. So, as time goes on, we are going to understand that. People talk about the mind and the mindset from different aspects. So you see some people come from the aspect of programming and construct, which we're also going to talk about it. Some people come from the aspect of thoughts. Some people come from the aspect of beliefs. So there are different ways at which we can go on a journey to the end of the mind and the end of the mindset. In fact, some people start, talking about the power of the mind itself. So some people just talk about the power of the mind. So, but I want us to approach this particular discussion from reality, and most especially designing the reality. So, if we look at what is reality, let's start from there. That was reality. Reality is generally defined. Reality is the state of things that exist. Yeah, the state of things that exist, the things you can see around you, like and this state of things that exist is independent of what you believe to be true or not. So, as time goes on, we'll be looking at the three dimensions of reality, which is the constructed reality, the current reality, and also the curated reality. And you will get to know that, see, even though I know some of us here, we are Christians, and we may want to, in a way, we may want to show a level of faith when we are talking. But I can tell you that when it comes to reality, you have to be factual. This is your reality. So look at things around you. Look at your status now. Look at the level of, in quotes now, let me bring it down, bank account. Some people, when they, when some people, when they are, when on a lighter note, you see some people saying that bank account is more like a jam score. Well, for those that are not in Nigeria, you may not understand what it means by jam score. All right, but one thing about reality is, irrespective of what you believe to be true, that's what the reality is. There are now some reality that can be curated, but what I'm talking about, the current reality, is the state of things as they actually exist, and that's independent of what you believe, or not. Um, that's reality. And we also look at it that when we talk about reality, what we focus more about reality is what we see visible, like what we can see visible. And one thing is, see, what you see today may simply be the visible expression of the invisible things that has been shaping you for years. Today we are going to be looking at something very important, which is the 7 foundational truths that you must first accept. In fact, that's more like an awareness. You must first accept that these are truths. Because we are going to be talking about the fact that the reality that you're seeing around you, it is constructed, and it is constructed by different things. So by family, it is constructed um, by your experiences, your exposure, your institutions, your schools, your even your church, um, the media now, yeah, the narratives on the media, and so on. This your current reality is actually constructed, is carefully curated, and you may start asking some questions that was I involved in the creation of this reality? Because that is where we start talking about mindset. What was I involved, or am I involved? Is it that the society has created a particular reality that I'm living in, or I'm intentionally creating my reality myself? So if we start taking it deep now, let's say um, these suits. There is a reason why we wear suits, but you must ask yourself. You must first ask yourself that, okay, why do people just believe that we wear suits for something special, or maybe to depict something official? We need to also ask asking that question. It's not for you to discard suits, or it's not for you to discard things around you, but the idea is that you need to have a mind of your own. So the realities around you, you need to question them. Yeah, you need to question them. Why am I where I am now? Is a question that you need to ask. So questions like the state of things now. For some of you that you are not really so buoyant, you need to ask yourself, why am I in this situation? Why am I in this condition? So it is when you start questioning some things like that, then you start getting the understanding of reality. Then you start going deep into some answers like the unseen. See, there are many things that there are many things that um, there are many things that we know to be true that they are not true. Please let me say that there are many things that we know to be true that we are not true, and it is until when we start getting to understand some things, then we start knowing that we don't know. When we start getting to know some things, or when you start getting to understand some things, or to even understand the meaning behind the knowledge you have, that is when you start getting to know that you don't really know. Because this is important. Most of the things that has been trying to um, that we have been running our life on, they are concepts that has been carefully designed. They are environment that has been carefully designed by some certain set of people. One consciously, another subconsciously. And that is what has formed this reality that you are now. If you are looking for a job and you're asking yourself that, why why don't I have a job? That's a reality you need to question. And most of the time when people question reality, what they give is excuses. And excuses is more like a cloak. Know something like a cloak, something that covers something so that you won't see the real thing. So that's excuses. The more you keep making excuses to be in the condition you are, excuses against the condition you are, the more you keep getting further from the truth. So you can say that, oh, the reason why I don't have a job, you can say that the reason why I don't have a job It's because my mother, my father is not rich. You can say that, oh, the reason why I don't have a job is because of one lecturer at home, one lecturer in school that I encountered that gave me D in maybe in a particular subject that didn't allow me to enter first class or second class upper or second class lower, and all those things. Those are excuses. Yeah. And excuses will, uh, in a way, it will cloak you in not seeing the original thing that is the issue. But before we talked about uh, the 7 foundational truths that you must accept, let's talk about the 3 types of reality that we have. Let's talk about the constructed reality. That's the first thing. And that is constructed reality is what has been knitted around you. I hope you know a picture of, when you are knitting. Uh, in the beginning, I have in the cover slide, I put a picture of someone knitting clothes. So your constructed reality is more like all the threads that they are using to knit a cloth, coming together to form a particular object that you can wear. That's more like a constructed reality. And if you look at your life now, you would see that you making decisions is not by default. You trying to, when we're talking about reinvent and I was talking about identity, I said the reason why you will see a particular job, maybe a job of a shoemaker. Let's assume, even though I've not yet seen any uh, ad on that, but there can be maybe someone putting an ad online that they want a shoemaker beside the street. The reason why you would say that this job is not for me is because of your identity. It's because you know who you are. Yeah, and you are confident of it. You are convinced of who you are. It's more like your name. So there are some names that when you mention it somewhere, it speaks. That's the same thing with identity, that when you try to look at yourself in this line, you just know that your identity speaks that this is not for me. So the same thing with uh, your constructed reality. There are some things that they've knitted together. Sometimes society is part of those knitting it. The environment is part of those knitting it, using different threads. Even the church is part of those knitting it. The schools you attended, and the ones that you're still attending, is part of those knitting it. The friends that you have, the books that you read, they are all part of those knitting your constructed reality. So it's something that's now become like this. For example, the quality of the thread that they are using depends on the quality of the clothes that you are going to have. So most of us, the reason why we are not really getting the best out of life is most of the thread that was used to knit our constructed reality is not something that can give us the quality of life that we desire or that even God wants of us. And the next is our current reality. And your current reality is what you are living currently, your present living. And you see, one thing about current reality, like I said, you have to just accept it. Acceptance, acknowledgement. Let me call it acknowledgement and not acceptance. You have to acknowledge it. Acknowledgement does not mean acceptance. So just because you acknowledge that this is the face I am now, does not mean you are accepting that I'm going to stay in this face. Or does not mean that you are already determined that this is the phase I'm going to stay. So, but you first need to acknowledge it, that this is the phase I am. Because without acknowledgement, there is no how you can walk towards your curated reality. Now, for example, you see people saying, In terms of faith now, you see people saying, um, how do I explain this? You see people making confessions of faith, just to, let me say, override their current reality. But you have to acknowledge the reality you are first. So it's more like a journey. You are going from this reality to the ones that you're about to create. And one thing about reality also is that, see, we don't all live in the same reality. There's some reality that is very strange to you. For example, if you go to somewhere in Germany, you will see the way they do things. It will be very strange. And because of the constructed reality that we have in this Nigeria, even our political systems are not, that they've in a way construct our reality. It affects the way we think, it affects the way the decisions we make, and so on. And it now affects our current reality. Now, the last that I'm going to talk about is curated reality. Now, this is where we are going. Created reality can now be that when you are intentionally you are selecting, you are looking at the kind of reality that has been created for you. And you are saying that I'm moving away from this and I want to create my own reality. And created reality can be both in constructed reality and your current reality. I'm going to discuss that. I just need to emphasize that so that I can talk about some things I want to talk about now. So let's just quickly go into the 7 foundational truths that I want you to know. Please, this particular one, I just want you to know that this is who I am. Like, these are general truths. This truth applies to everybody. Like, it's just a general principle, it's a general law, it's a general truth that you must first acknowledge first. Because most of the time I see people building many things without first acknowledging some things. Those are foundation. That's why I call it foundational truths. You must first understand this. Before we start talking about the mind, before we start talking about the mindset, you must first acknowledge these foundational truths. And the first one is that you are a creator and a designer. So God gave you the ability to design and to create. Now, one thing that people don't know is that when we talk about we designing things and we creating things, it is not just things that are visible. We are talking about, we are talking about things that cannot be seen, things that are not invisible. We are also talking about you creating a particular reality for yourself. So we are talking about creating cultures, things that cannot be felt. Because most times, especially in this part of the world, we focus a lot with the things that are seen more than the things that are not seen. That's why you see an average Nigerian does not really value knowledge. Because knowledge is not something that you see. It is not something that you see. They are invisible things. And also, let me tell you something about creation. When God created the earth, most of the time we always talk about um, the visible creations, the things that we see. But we can also see in scriptures that God created both the visible and the invisible. Everything that God created is both visible and invisible. And the most important one is not even visible things, they are the invisible things. For example, the reason why the reason why I can be standing where I'm standing today is because there is law of gravity. Because if there is no law of gravity, I'll be floating. And law of gravity is something that you can't see. You can't see it. All you just need to do is just to walk in it. It's just by default. It's just there. So that's laws. And we have different laws like that, inertia and so on, that they are just there. It's not something that you see. Why I'm saying this is that you need to understand that You being a creator and a designer, God has created you and designed you to also create both the visible and invisible. That's number one. Number two, the second law that I want you to know is that creation begins in the invisible before it appears in the visible. Whatever it is that you are creating. And when I'm saying creating now, please don't just have an idea of, like I said, don't have an idea of visible things. When I'm talking about creating, don't have an idea of only visible things. Also think of the things that we cannot see. For example, if I want to build a house, I need to have an idea of the building first. That's in my mind. If I want to lead an organization, I need to have a vision first. You can't see vision. You can only see the manifestation of vision. If I want to build a project, I need to have a concept. Those things you can't see, and that is where creation starts from. Now, for example, let me say this. A poor man, I do say this again and again, a poor man did not need money first. A poor man actually needs knowledge first to change his mindset. Because the reason why he's poor in the first place is because his mindset is not right. Now, if you give a poor man, let's say somebody is poor and maybe the person does come to ask for money and you give the person 5 million naira. If his mind and mindset can only carry or manage 50,000 naira, if the mind and mindset only have the capacity to manage 50,000 naira, it will reduce that 5 million naira to the 50,000 naira that his capacity can carry. That's just it. So most of the times when people look at their lives, when people start asking questions, why am I where I am? See, it is not because you lack opportunities. The reason why you lack opportunities in the first place is because the quality of your inner reality, which is your constructed reality, cannot manifest the opportunity that you actually wanted in the first place. You need to understand that very clearly. Because most of the time, when you ask people that, what's your problem? Like, what exactly do you need? It's rare for some people to say, I need knowledge. It's rare for some people to say, I need wisdom. It's rare for some people to say, I need mentoring. What people do say is that, oh, if I can just get like 2 million naira, I promise you that you may get that 2 million naira, you may get that 10 million naira, you may get that 20 million naira. But if it comes at the cost of a shallow mindset, a shallow mind, you are going to waste that money and also the opportunity is going to go. So the reason why we are not even seeing some opportunities now is because of our reality, Yeah, it's because we are not even seeing them. See, there is something that the mind and the mindset does. That at a point where you start seeing some things, at a point where you start gaining more capacity in your mind, you start renewing your mindset, you start shedding off some things and start bringing on some realities, some belief systems into your mind. One thing it does is that it's going to open your eyes. There are many opportunities in plain sight, but because the capacity of your mind cannot see them, they will be there. They will be there. And those that have the capacity to see them, they will see it and will act on it. That's just it. So you need to know, sincerely, just know that creation begins from the invisible. Some people created the reality that you have now, and they did it in a way that they know what they want to create, and they meticulously created it for you. It is something that I call a mind stretch. Some people call it construct. Some people call it programming. I call it matrix. So what you are doing now, the reality around you now, some people created it. So there was a time I was talking about real estate, and see, one thing about real estate is the value of a particular environment depends on the value of the people that are living there. That's just it. And not just the people, the quality of the people also determines on the quality of the mind and mindset that is there. So we will see that some people intentionally created a particular reality in an environment for some certain set of people that can live in the same environment. And one of the ways that they will even filter many people out is actually through the money. So you can see some lands, in um, can see some lands in some place, and they call it maybe, let's say, 5 million naira per plot. Why in some other places you see 100 million naira per plot. That's people creating realities. So we are still talking about creation begins in the invisible before it appears in the visible. So let me also say this. Two people can look at the same environment and see completely different possibilities. So you can see, maybe someone see a land somewhere, and as someone is seeing a school, someone can be seeing a restaurant. Meanwhile, someone can be seeing farming. We see those things based on the reality that has been constructed for us. Now, let me, maybe at this point, let me just say this at this point, because we are still going to touch that later. It's not going to be today, maybe next session. That's episode 2. Do you know that two people can go to a university? Two people can go to a university. They are taught the same thing. They are taught the same thing. They just remember that I'm using reality to explain the mind and the mindset now. They are taught the same thing. In fact, let's say the first person maybe come from a poor background, more like the only thing there is just survival. All they just want to do there is just to survive. And the other person come from a background where survival is not something that is in existence there. All they just need to do is scaling, things about business, leadership, and all. I hope you know that just because they teach them the same thing does not mean that the two people are going to end up in the same place, or does not mean that the two people are going to end up in the same way. Only if they have the same kind of mindset. So someone can have a survivor mindset to say that, the reason why I'm in school is just to come and liberate my family from poverty. And another can be looking at the concept that they are teaching them and can be thinking of many things he wants to innovate. Can be thinking of even many things that he feel like, leading, doing, creativity around it and all. It actually depends on the mind and the mindset. It's very important. So, okay, let me go to the third one. The third truth that you must understand. See, if you can keep telling yourself, I'm a designer, I'm a creator. Every day you are going out, you are creating, you are intentionally creating what your life is going to be. You are telling yourself that as I'm going out today, I'm not going to say this. If someone says something, this is how I'm going to respond. See, that impulse response that you used to give is out of the constructed reality that people have created for you. And you need to live above that. You need to live from there and just create your own reality yourself. So the visible is governed by the invisible. That's a third foundational truth that I want you to know. That's invisible. The visible is governed by the invisible. Everything that you are seeing here has laws and principles that they are holding them together. So, like I said it the other time that me standing here is because of the laws of gravity. If not, I'll be floating. So there are some things like even the television that you are looking here, they have laws and principles that is governing its functions. So all those things are what you must understand. When you see walls, you see windows, you see floors, you see a roof. They don't just appear. There are some laws and principles that guide them. When you see an aeroplane flying, the law of aerodynamics is guiding it. If at any point in time those laws, maybe the aeroplane that is flying, uh, if at any point in time fails to, should I say, obey those laws, it's coming down. No matter how gigantic it is, no matter how expensive the aeroplane is, it's coming down. That is why you see that great men, they live by principles and they live by laws, because they know that the visible things that they are seeing now is controlled by the invisible. So my question to you is that, what are you living by? Are you living by what you see, or you are living by what you don't see? And this even elapses into the knowledge of God. Yeah, because we do say that the spiritual controls the physical. You need to ask yourself that, what are the principles that are guiding my life? You want to scale up in your business. What are the principles of scaling? What are the laws of scaling? Or you just think that you are going to pray. See, one thing I've known God for is that maybe at a point God do suspend laws and principles, because when you see Jesus walking on water, he actually suspend a law by walking on water. The sea parting actually suspend a law. So miracles happen that suspend laws, but God respects laws and principles. So if God is going to answer any of your prayer, he's going to answer it through a particular law, a particular principle. Yeah. So money got to your hand, and there is always a principle of seed sowing. I'm not talking about sowing into maybe a man of God or a church, which that's part of it. But I'm talking about, there is a principle of something betting is kind. It's a law, it's in Genesis. So it means that it is money that you use for finding money. You don't just sit and keep praying. You don't just sit and keep praying that, oh, money come, money come, money come. No, there is a principle and laws. There are invisible things that God has set in place to bring about those success that we need to be aware of. So the visible world is governed by the invisible. And you can see many things, a person's life might be visible, but there are some laws and principles that are invisible that they are consistently obeying and doing, that makes their life who they are. I see how people, let me tell you one of the laws that even the men of God are, in a way. See, there is no how you will raise men, there is no how you bless life that you ever lack. There was time that Bishop Oyedepo said that he knows that he can never lack again. And he didn't say that because of maybe the business opportunities around him. It's because he has raised men to the point where he knows that if Bishop Oyedepo should say that I need something now, thousands of people will rise up to provide it. That's a law that he has obeyed. So most of the time when some of us do see some men of God and you start saying, oh, I receive, I tap, I receive, I tap, I tap. Many people that used to tap and tap and tap online that used to receive. Yeah, there's a place of impartation. But impartation can only impart potentials. There is sacrifice, which are invisible things. There is sacrifice. There is a time of digging, studying. There is a time of even patience and eating season and all that it follows uh, those successful things that you are seeing up and down. So you need to understand that also. So you can see someone's behavior, but not necessarily the assumption producing it. I do consult for people in some way, and sometimes when people say some things, the first thing I need to know is that what are the invisible things that is governing these things that you are saying. I hope you know that words are the representation of somebody. There is a professor that said that by merely talking to somebody in just 5 minutes, they can know the future of the person. Yeah, and that's right. Yeah, because the words that you say is a representation of who you are. The words you say is a representation of who you are. Words come out of the depth of you, and that you is the original you. Yeah, and that is the you that we need to change. So when some people come and they start saying, for example, let me give you an example of a husband and wife. Two people coming from different environments. In one person, the environment has shaped the person. Different kind of things have shaped the person. The same thing with another person. Different kind of things have shaped the person. When those two people are coming together, they behave differently because of their inner world, because of their inner reality. There is a way that they've been programmed, they've been conditioned to teach. There's a way that they've been conditioned, to behave, to react to things. What they've seen over time, what they've heard over time, the experiences that is around them. For example, some might not have the experiences of maybe love. The father might not know, the person, maybe the person came from a family where the father has never maybe told him or her that I love you. And now he's married. It's very difficult to also show the same love to the children or even to his wife. So when those kind of attitudes are coming up, you need to go to the depth of it for you to know that this is not just the person. There is an invisible thing that is sponsoring this attitude. And that's how you get to the root of matters. In fact, when you go to counseling, that's how they get to the root of matters. Because you might address, and if the invisible still remains the same and you address the invisible is still going to create another reality which you addressed. Okay, let's move on. Number 4, your reality is visible, but it is the product of the invisible things. This is the fourth truth that I want you to know. Your reality is visible. What you are seeing around you is visible. The condition that you are now is visible. Some people are in a condition where they don't even know where they are going. Some people are in a condition where they're in a condition of poverty. Some people are in a condition where they don't have a job. Some people are in a condition where there are many things that is wrong with their life currently. That's your reality. First, acknowledge that that's your reality. In fact, if you would ask me to give you a test to do, is to look at your environment, sincerely acknowledge these are my realities. Yeah. Then from there, you now look at it. What are the things? What are the invisible things that has created this reality? So um, it can be your thoughts. Excuse me. So it can be your thoughts, it can be your belief systems, it can be your idea. What exactly do you believe about unemployment? Some people, what they believe is that if they don't see a job, they are finished. In fact, the reason why some people are jackpying is not because maybe they want to learn more, or it's not because they want to gain more knowledge. It's just a survivor. It's just a survivor's instinct. It's a survivor skill that they develop from different people. Based on the fact that naira equivalent to dollar is around 1314 1003 1004 something to $1. And because of that, some people have created a reality for themselves that they can only be they can only prosper until when they go out of this country. So my own is those that this your circumstances. Uh, what is the product of it? What are the invisible things that has produced this current reality? Yeah, you need to dig deep into it. Just accept what your finances. The reason why you don't have finance, the reason why you don't have much. What are the invisible things that has contributed to it? What are the knowledge that you think that has contributed to it? What are the patterns that anytime you think about money that has contributed to this? Your environment, your habits are not. So your reality is visible, but it is a product of invisible things. That's another truth that you need to hold tight. Now, the next truth that you need to hold tight is that now, if you accept that your reality is visible, your current reality is visible, but is a product of invisible things, then you need to also accept the fact that your current reality now is a design, but whose design? So your current reality now is a design, but whose design? Who has been doing the design? Is it you? Is it your parents? Is it your family? Is it your culture, your education, your community, your religious environment, your friends, your institution, the media, your experiences, your success, your failures, your fears, your decisions? What are the things that has designed these your current realities? And it may be everybody, it may be all of them. It may be all of them, but it may vary. For example, you need to ask yourself, what are the ideas I have about money? Why is it that, even some people, the idea, I went somewhere, and I think it's a train station, yeah. And I saw, hey, oh Lord Jesus, help us. Oh man. So I went somewhere and I saw, all these thrifts that people used to do, money thrifts. Um, that you'll be contributing social amount every week or every month, and at the end of the week or at the end of the month, someone is going to take the whole amount, while another person waits till maybe next month, depending on the amount of days or months that each person is going to be collecting until it goes round. Now I went somewhere and I was looking at it, and I'm like, what's this idea of money? Somebody started this idea, and some people don't know that it's actually the wrong way of dealing with money. Yeah, like I said, that money is meant to, there's a law of kind. So money is meant to create its kind, which is money. So what idea do you have about money? Even if you are talking about relationship, if you are talking about family, if you are talking about being an husband, what idea do you have? What are the reality that you have created intentionally and unintentionally about the concept of marriage, about the concept of family, about the concept of husband, about the concept of wife, and so on, about the concept of education? What are the ideas you have about them? When you look at the ideas, you need to start asking yourself, How do you get to this point of creating these ideas? Who are those that create this for me? And that is what personally I can say is what is called hidden script. So there is a script at which the society have written. There is a script like different people are writers. They've written it, and that is what you are living out. Um, what it is that you repeatedly introduce to your mind, and you convince yourself that is the truth. What are the things that you've convinced yourself that is the truth without even getting to know the meaning? These are questions that you need to ask yourself. Before we start talking about the mind, because we start talking about the mindset, we need to first look at this deeply. The reality that I have now, what are the things that created this reality? What are the invisible things that actually created this current reality that I have now? I was watching a sport yesterday. It's a totally different sport. That's the first time I'm seeing it. And the funny thing is, to some people, that's their reality because that's in their environment. There are some sports that an average Nigerian cannot aspire, to do. When you go to Olympics, that is when you know that there are some sports that an average Nigerian has not even heard of. So I remember when I got admission I study sociology, by the way, and anthropology. So when I got admission to study sociology and anthropology, I'm one of the people that, uh, okay, don't let me say that. But when I get admission to sociology and anthropology, and I was excited. I went to share the good news with my mom. My mom was excited. The fact that I gained admission, she was excited. But it was later that I now started asking myself, please, what exactly is sociology? What exactly is anthropology? Because the reality that people have created around us is there are some things only fly. You have to be an accountant, a lawyer, a doctor, what else? An engineer. And apart from that, I'm not sure we really had much exposure to other kind of discipline, that we can do apart from that. So I need to start searching. What is sociology like? What is anthropology? That's the reality. Yeah, that's the reality around you. When you see Olympic Games and you see different sports that people are doing, you would know that an average Nigerian mind cannot actually capture the possibility of seeing himself or herself in this kind of place. It's because of the reality that we have created for ourselves. It's because what is possible, those things that they have over there, it is possible because they created the same reality for themselves. But for here, it's not created. It's not for us. So we need to ask ourselves, this my current reality is whose design? Have I been intentionally designing my own reality myself? Since the time that you gain independence from your parents or from your guardian, have you been intentionally creating your own reality yourself? So number 6 is not everything influencing your reality was consciously chosen by you. That's the last statement I made. So not everything that is currently influencing you now was consciously chosen by you. Some of you are even still attending the church. That's the reason why you are attending the church is because you are in a certain circumstances. Yeah. I don't want to say some things because some people, you don't have choice. That's why you are attending the church that you are attending. It means that alone is a reality that you ought to choose by yourself, but you still don't have the power to choose it. Yeah. Don't put yourself in a place where you don't have options. I heard that from someone. So everything that is influencing you now, for example, your school, who chose? And I'm not saying that everything that you know our parents, whoever has influenced us, I'm not saying that everything that they influenced us with are bad. But I'm saying that there are some things that are not, uh, they introduce some things that are not the right reality to us. And it is now that you now understand, you are in a state of mind where you can make decisions for yourself. This is a time where you now need to start looking, digging deep on those things and start bringing them out to say that this is a reality I don't want for myself. Yeah. And that's why we started from the fact that you are a designer and you are a creator. That's the number one truth. It is when you understand that you know that I can create a reality for myself. Yeah. I can curate it, meticulously curate a reality for myself beyond what I know now. And the seventh one, which is the last one that we're going to be looking at, is that what has been designed can be examined and, where necessary, redesigned. You can test what you believe. You can question what you were taught. So you can examine what you inherited. You can update what is outdated. You can reject what is false. So you can develop new ways of thinking. You can acquire new knowledge. You can expose yourself to new realities. You can expose yourself also to new possibilities. You can change your interpretations. You can make different decisions for yourself. You can establish different patterns for yourself. You can determine what should stay and what should not stay. Now, next week, when we now start talking about how we design our reality, and we'll start talking about the mind, the role that the mind and the mindset actually play. That's when you start knowing that, see, designing reality takes something. You have to be very conscious. You have to be very, very conscious of it. Because one thing about reality is it sinks into your subconscious that you don't even know that it exists there until when you are about to make a decision for yourself. That's when you start seeing some things coming out. You start seeing that you are making decisions this way. See, let me just give you a brief between a mind and a mindset. I saw a story about a man. This is the counselor that was telling the story. They said that the wife went to report the man to the counselor, and both of them were there. And the husband was talking about, oh, this is what I don't know what I'm doing. That she said that she find it necessary for them to come to the counselor. I know. He said, and the wife opened up that he beats me, he does this and he does that. And the man started crying. The man said that is how he saw his father also doing the same thing. And even though, now look at this, that even though he has said that he won't do that, he ended up doing it. Now, you can say that you don't want to do something. That's still at the level of your mind. But if you don't go to the level of the mindset, that thing that you said you can do, your mindset can override it, and you are still going to do that. Yeah. So, because when we start talking about new levels of thinking, new ways of seeing possibilities, your mindset can be fighting your mind. You can gain new knowledge in your mind, but you still exhibit your old pattern, which is your mindset. So if you start talking about designing realities, we can be talking about designing realities, sharing insightful thoughts, and your mind will keep processing it, will keep looking at, oh wow, these are quality knowledge, but your mindset is actually fighting it. That's why, let me just use it to wrap up. There is something that I do say is sorry for the reason why I'm apologizing in advance is because it has to do with ladies. But I want to believe that it's not the ladies that are here. There was time I was just looking at the way ladies organize programs, conferences, seminars, even counseling and all. And you will see someone that maybe they are trying to help the person went to a conference. At that point, you will see that, oh, the person is agitated. You'll be like, wow, this is solid information. This is solid knowledge. And the person, in fact, when you see the lady, you will think that, wow, this is transformation. This alone is transformation. And the first day after the conference, the second day after the conference, in fact, the first week after the conference, you see that the lady starts behaving in a very cultured, mannered way. And after like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, the lady has gone back to default setting. The difference is that when you are talking about reality, it deals more with the mindset, because there are some information that stays in the mind that won't rub off on the mindset. And when information stays in the mind and did not rub off on your mindset, you are still liable in repeating the same attitude that the mindset is producing in the first place. So in the case of the lady actually have the knowledge, have the information, the insights in her mind, processed it, sees that maybe this information is good, this insight is awesome, is intelligent, but it has to rub off on the mindset consciously, and it is at that time that there will be transformation. Transformation does not only happen in the mind, it goes to the mindset. The reason why you think today, the reason why you read books today, and they will tell you that you should find a way to invest your money more than saving it. And next tomorrow, when the money still comes, you will still want to save it. It's not because of your mind, but it's because of the mindset. And that's what we are going to be looking at when it comes to designing your reality. You need to get to a point where you tell yourself that even though I have enough information, why do I still think this way? Why do my decision not align with what I know? It's because you have to consciously look at the threads that has been used to knit your mindset over time, and you consciously remove it, and you bring in a new reality, which should be done intentionally. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for your time. It has been uh, a great time. And like I said, we are going to be doing things differently now. In fact, the shift session, by God's grace, we are going to make um, some changes to it to accommodate, the vision that we have for it. And some of these changes, you are already seeing it already. We're sorry that we could not be on the Zoom platform for those that prefer being on Zoom platform. But going on, we are not promising that we are going to return back there. But let's see how things goes. Next week is another time, and we are going to be delving towards the what we talk about just few minutes before this time, like the mindset, and then you now see why you are not shaping your reality, even though you have some information, but it's still that there is something. It's still, let's say there is still something holding you back that is so strong. That is your mindset, and it's different from the mind. You can have all the information on this word, and if you don't consciously change your mindset, you may not make do with it the right thing. So if two people go to university to go and learn, and in fact maybe the first person have first class and the second person has third class, if the second person that has third class has the right mindset, he's going to do well than the person that has first class. So it's not about the mind. The mind also is part of it, but it's about the mindset. And we are going to be talking about that powerfully starting from next week. Please invite someone, share this link to someone. It's going to bless them. I promise you. Till we see again next week, have a blessed day and a blessed week ahead.